Hey, are you interested in learning more about the whole reality shifting craze? Check out the audiobook, Parallel Universes of Self. It's the Bible of reality shifting worldwide, and I got to narrate it. A direct link is available on hightimelinebooks.com, or you can get it directly from Audible and Apple Books. Welcome into the Fun Astrology Podcast for Wednesday, March 26th. Thomas Miller here in the middle of the week. I'm going to have to keep this short, you guys, but I had a couple of things I wanted to just unpack about the upcoming eclipse. And as I was making a couple of notes for this, it turned a little interesting. So let's just see where this goes. I'm up to my elbows, eyebrows, etc. in moving boxes, and it's all coming down right now. So I've got to be quick here. But what I thought we might do is just take a look at I'm going to call it the yin and yang of the eclipse. What's the upside, and then what are the challenges that we should be watching for? Of course, the eclipse is at basically 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:57 if you want to nail it right down on the screws, and that's on Saturday morning Eastern Time. Now, the only thing today related to this buildup, if you will, for the rest of the week is at 3:30 this afternoon Eastern, the moon enters Pisces. Last sign before Aries, of course, where all of the action takes place on Saturday. As we mentioned on Monday, this is the more favorable moon of the week because the void of course last aspect on Friday before it moves into Aries, ironically, is a conjunction with Neptune. So there's your spiritual twist between now and Friday afternoon. If you're scratching down notes, that happens at 4:30 Friday when the moon enters Aries. I have two resources that I wanted to add to this. One is the Fun Astrology weekly video. I got it done Monday night. It was late. That was because of me running out of energy, but got it Monday night, and that has some information. Tracy Arnold joins us with some information from her perspective on tools that you can use to implement this coming energy. She had a great little segment on that. And then Robert Glasscock and I did an episode on the solar eclipse from his perspective, and that is also released on the Old Soul, New Soul podcast and on the new Old Soul, New Soul YouTube channel, which I hope you'll subscribe to. But in addition to all of that, let's just summarize the positive sides, I think, obviously, is wrapping up this Piscean energy. We talked about that a lot on Monday. It's time to do our spiritual adulting, right? It's time to step up. It's time to get things going. And that's the gist of Robert's take on this, is that it is a very positive move into Aries from the igniting and getting things started perspective. In fact, his contrast to a lot of the stuff going on in our world today was quite refreshing and quite positive. So I hope you'll listen to that episode. Neptune now is in its last 5 days before it moves into Aries, and that basically wraps up this 12, 13-year phase of Neptune being in its own sign. We won't see this again for about 150 years when it first will enter Pisces again. On Saturday, we have the Sun, Moon, and the part of Fortune in Aries with Chiron. Now, we'll talk about Chiron in a minute because today's other aspect is a square to Mars. But let me get that in the next section. Just keep that in mind. Mars over there in Cancer is squaring Chiron, and that's exact this afternoon at 4:15 this afternoon Eastern. But as Robert pointed out, we have the Sun, the Moon, and the part of Fortune in Aries. We are shifting gears into new beginnings. And also, Uranus is in a positive sextile aspect to the Pisces planets. When we think about changes, Uranus and its radical revolutionary side, that's a positive. That's spiritual change. That's the kind of bones that the Reformation was made of, which was also Neptune moving into Aries. So we have that similar kind of pattern from 2 times ago, not the last one. That was the U.S. Civil War. The one before that was the Spanish Secession. The one before that was the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther, etc. But I mean, that was a big spiritual shift, that one. So was the Civil War in a dark way and then a positive way. So that's kind of the DNA of this thing. Another one in the positive aspect category is Pluto is sextile to that 0 Aries point. So I think if any of you are hoping for a lot of positive changes from all of this that's going on, there you go. We have a stack of it in in the astrology chart, and that's exactly what Robert was alluding to. Now let's touch on the yang real quick. One is Mars rules this, and Mars is conflict, and Mars is in Cancer, and it ain't happy. So that square to Chiron that is exact today, that could bring us some internal tension, especially things getting fired off from the past. And remember, the South Node is the thing. You see this so clearly on the weekly video. That South Node is opposite the eclipse. So there could be this train wreck if we take the South Node as Rahu, the tail of the dragon, the dark side of the nodes. And there could be this stuff that comes up that's too much to handle. And that could be on an individual level. It could be with your friends and family. It could also extend out into the collective. Remember, not only is Neptune changing signs and soon to be followed in May by Saturn, but also all these outer planet shifts are staging. So we're in this 0 degrees Aries vortex pattern that Ray Merriman so brilliantly described and addressed in the 2025 forecast book. Here it is. If you haven't picked that up, I just would really strongly encourage you. The audiobook link is on hightimelinebooks.com right up there at the top. So all of a sudden, we might experience over these next 6 months that the collective might want to fight. And that's when I got to thinking about, well, what's the biggest trigger of the collective fighting right now? It's obviously everything that's going on out of Washington, D.C. And this is not political. You guys know I am apolitical. I do not take a side. I observe from the middle. But my only thought related to this was, I wonder where this shows up in Donald Trump's chart. I had looked at this, several weeks or even a couple of months ago, but that was several moving boxes ago. It's like I can't remember which box that was in. The eclipse sits right at the cusp of his 8th house of transformation. There have been some credible astrologers that have been warning him about threats to his person. It's certainly easy to see in the chart. This eclipse will also oppose his Neptune in Libra and widely by sign his Jupiter. And his Chiron is also in there as well. So at best, that points to quite a transformational focal point. So if we take solar eclipses as being more powerful and that these can run out, at least in their initial impact over 6 months, well, there you have. I mean, the next half of this year could be a spotlight in this area. And again, I'm not taking this political. Please don't put political comments in YouTube. I will take them out because we just don't do that. That's not our focus. But there is something to observe here and then back this into that. Obviously, we know, we've spent 4 years with this man previously, that he can stir it up. He is no stranger to conflict, and that's the Aries message as well. So let's just take it from that perspective. Let's say that he stirs up conflict. Well, this is the symbolism of war. We know that, this Neptune moving into Aries. Mars is the god of war. So you could go down that street. You could go down the danger to his person street. And yes, you could even go down here's a 78-year-old man. The body has its limits, and whether it was from an attack, from a conflict, from an assault, or whether it was just from deteriorating health. All of those are possible. Robert pointed this out back in 2017. This is nothing new. But those are the yins and yangs, I think, as I'm seeing this for this eclipse. And I sure turned a short podcast into a long one. I apologize. But I'm going to take the rest of the week away. I'm not sure that I'll get to Merriman. It just depends totally on where I am with things. If not, then we'll figure something out to cover that for this week. But thank you guys so much for listening, and wish me luck. I'm getting too old for this. I can tell you that. I am getting too old for this, but we're going to do it at least one more time. Have a great rest of the week. Happy eclipse to all of you, and I will see you back on Monday.